Dude, do you know the Supra's getting a manual? You mean the BMW Supra? Yeah, but don't be stupid about it. Guess how much it's gonna cost. Bro, the real Supra died with the Mark IV. You do know this car has way more power and it is faster in just about every single regard. Yeah, but it doesn't have a manual. What did I just say? All jokes aside, the new Supra is getting the manual. I would be driving it at the end of August when I would be driving the GR Corolla, but I decided to stay home. It's just too much traveling in the month of August for me, so I'll be driving those cars when we get them in the press fleet, but I'll get to spend a lot more time with those vehicles. And there's nothing better than like those cars sitting in your driveway. I'd rather do that than driving around a track and get car sick. Anyways, let's talk about this Supra pricing. Car and Driver had the information. I believe they were one of the first publications. Also, thanks to my friend on Instagram. Thank you guys. Thank you for sharing this with the fleet here. And here we go. Here's the pricing for the models. Now, good old 2.0. I would have loved if Toyota would have given the manual transmission to the 2.0 because the 2.0 and the Z has a manual, but no, we still don't have that option here. You only have the 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. Great transmission, but I'd rather have a manual. You know what I mean? Now that we have the manual, I really want to know what the take rate's going to be. Do you think it'll be about 50-50? I think so. That's my guess, 50-50. But I'll see you guys down below what the take rate will be here on the Supra manual. And guess what? Supra manual, get it on the 3.0, you get it on the 3.0 premium, and you get it in this A91 special edition MT. The car does cost more than it used to, $610 more, but hey, that is a price that I'm willing to live with to get the manual, which costs the same as the automatic, no matter which trim you get. Of course, the automatic is not available on the manual transmission special edition. So yes, very basic spreadsheet, but I want to share that with you guys. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my driving impressions on the GR Corolla and the 6-speed manual Supra. It feels so good to say that. It's a vehicle that should have launched with the Supra, but at least it's better late than never. Better late than never. And we have other news to talk about today. So grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in. Honda Civic Type R is getting OEM accessories. It was awesome to be there at the launch event. But now you can get a carbon fiber wing if you want. You can get this cool shifter, which I'm not a fan of the silver shifter, the aluminum silver shifter. I'm sure it's great, but I like this red leather one. My sweaty hands would cling to this a little bit better. Also, this is aluminum with black coating with a red R for reverse. Also Type R, you like that? It's a nice touch. Here's another angle of that spoiler, and look at all the like aerodynamic little teeth on it. I love that. I think it looks amazing, and we have a better look at those teeth there. So I know there's a better word for it. Better look. There you go. It's real carbon fiber. Look at that weave, guys. That weave is amazing. And we have some red mirror caps. Don't know how I feel about that. We already talked about the shifter, but there's also the carbon fiber console area. And then we also have that carbon fiber on the door panel. That looks amazing. I like that trim. You also have illuminated door sills, and then you have the puddle lamps with the Type R. Not quite sure if I like the circle here. What do you guys think about that? I'd be happy if it was just said Type R. Another look at the shifter here. What else are we supposed to be looking at? I guess the carbon fiber here. And here's a picture of the vehicle with all those accessories on it. I think this looks a bit clownish to me. Those red mirror caps from the back. Oof, yes, looks great. I love the looks of the new Type R, but we're not done with the Type R stuff because apparently there's been a leak in Japan on the power that this thing is making, but that's the Japanese market, which it should make more power in the Japanese market than it does here. 326 horsepower for the JDM model. That is impressive. And 309 pound-feet of torque. They're expecting the numbers here stateside to be 316 horsepower. Well, this torque number is way off, 236. That doesn't make any sense. But 316 horsepower is kind of what I was guessing. 315 to 320 was my estimation. So I'm happy about that. I can't wait to drive this bad boy later this year. If the stars align, if I'm not traveling too much when this opportunity comes up. But that's all the performance stuff I have for you. So I'm going to enter in the heretic or heresy or the forbidden language when I'm talking about gasoline performance cars. We're going to pull a hard J-turn here, and we're going to go into battery electric stuff. Over in Asia, Toyota is planning 1.8 billion Indonesia investment to make electric vehicles. So yes, I'll be making cars there. We'll be making batteries there. Indonesia is one of those countries that wants to be fully battery electric by like 2050, including their motorbikes and converting their motorbikes. To me, that doesn't make any sense to convert your perfectly working gasoline motorbike, but it's better than just like, if the engine's gone bad on it or the transmission's gone bad, I could see the conversion making sense, but if it's already working fine, doesn't make sense. Anyways, Toyota's not in the business of making motorbikes. They're in the business of making automobiles. Why Indonesia? Well, Indonesia, like I said, wants to be fully electric by 2050, but they also want to have 2.2 million electric cars on its roads by 2030, and they want to have 13 million electric motorcycles, including the converted ones we talked about. Toyota also says they're going to be using this for batteries for hybrids as well. Indonesia has cheap labor. It also has tons of nickel and other raw materials in order to make batteries. So that makes logistical sense. And then you also have Mitsubishi pouring in tons of money as well. And then we know the Korean automakers have been down there making batteries or working on plants and stuff with the government down there. So yes, Indonesia is the next hotspot for electric vehicles, and we're turning to the American electric front because EV tax credit proposal adds tougher sourcing limits for critical minerals batteries. So if you missed yesterday's news, the good old government is passing this bill, which is going to tax corporations and make things more expensive, but it also reinstates the EV tax credit. But there's a lot more rules around it now. By 2024, the proposal calls for 50% of the critical minerals used in EV batteries to be extracted or processed in the US. I like that idea. It keeps work here, and it reduces our independence, or reduces our dependence on China, because that's where like 90% of the batteries are made. So Indonesia is going to be another hub. The United States is going to be a huge hub because we're going to require these batteries to be built here. In 2024 and 2025, 60% of the battery components must be made or assembled in North America. Daniel Ryan, Vice President of Government and Public Affairs at Mazda, has something to say about this. He says, "We are concerned that the provisions on batteries and critical minerals will be very difficult to meet in the timeline required as the overall industry works to build additional capacity in North America." Yes, it's going to take time. For pickups, SUVs, and vans, the tax credit is only on $80,000 in less vehicles of those archetypes, I guess, and no more than $55,000 for other vehicles such as sedans. What is interesting is with like the EV6 sitting in my driveway, is like, what does that qualify as? Is that a sedan? What does the Ioniq 5 qualify as? Is that a sedan? Is it a crossover? Is it an SUV? Like, what about the new Crown? The new, I mean, I know it's not a battery electric vehicle yet, but it will have that capacity when they want to. It's like, is that a crossover? It's called a crossover in the Japanese market, but here in North America, they refer to it as a sedan. So this is going to get really, really interesting on what qualifies as a sedan and what qualifies as a crossover for this credit. Almost the weight of the vehicle would make more sense if they were to do it like that. If it weighs over, I don't know, 5,500 pounds, then it can be at the 80,000. If it's under 5,500 pounds, maybe it's the 55. I don't know. Riddle me that. The government just makes things more complicated. Eligible buyers would be taxpayers with adjusted gross income of no more than $300,000 for joint filers, $225 for the head of household, and $150 for single filers. Now, there's also a $4,000 tax credit for used EVs, and this one is even more complicated than the new one. Now, all these tax credits are going to expire December 31st, 2032. So we have a 10-year extension period of these EV tax credits. They're also supposed to be available and redeemable at the point of sale. So that's going to make things more complicated for dealerships. But if everything goes away from dealerships by the end of the next 10 years with upfront pricing and everything, I guess that makes sense, but it's going to get complicated in the near term with this tax credit at doing paperwork at the dealership. If they just, it's almost like an instant rebate instead of a tax credit. And it's more like how Canada does it, to my knowledge. Also, this is requiring final assembly of the vehicle to occur within North America. Whoa. Interesting. I didn't pick that one up, but it makes sense because if all these are, if this is requiring the components to essentially come from America, like importing the Japanese and Korean electric cars, you won't be able to get the tax credit on it. Now, they are going to have facilities here in North America to build battery electric vehicles, but when I'm looking at like Lexus, for example, like their solid state batteries, that's only going to be built in Japan. Like the importation of these vehicles is really going to throw a wrench on the luxury crowd. Now you might be saying, Kirk, it doesn't really matter because luxury buyers don't really need the EV tax credit, but maybe. Like this is really going to mess up the Europeans, them bringing in their electric vehicles. They're not going to produce them here stateside more than likely, or North America. So yes, this is getting really interesting. I like how it kind of puts American processing and manufacturing first, but it might really throw a wrench in the competitiveness of vehicles being imported. So anyways, I got to cut myself off. I could talk about this EV tax credit in like a live stream with you guys or something, because it is just so ridiculously complicated. But I'm going to end it there. I'll see you in the comments below as usual. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee next week to drive the new CR-V from Honda. Can't wait for that. Catch you in the next one. Have a good day. Take care of yourselves and the ones around you. And peace out.